Hi, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Kathy Brandon, your happiness chick, and welcome to another edition of Ready for Happiness Live. We have an exciting guest, just like we do every week. Our guest today is an author, she is a speaker, and she has an incredible story that we're going to share today. Her name is Susan Goudy. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Kathy. How are you?
I am doing awesome. I am doing really good. Now, for those of you guys who just joined us, Ready for Happiness Live is a program that started about 2 years ago. It's an online TV show that is on demand. And you can find us at www.readyforhappiness.com. And basically what this show is we wanted to get out there and show you real people who have created a unique way of being happy in the world. And they've done that so well for themselves that they're out there inspiring other people to do the same. So what we wanted to do is we saw that out there in the world, and we saw this crap TV in the world, and what we wanted to do was give you an option in your day-to-day life to be able to click with your mouse and find some inspirational TV that'll uplift you and give you courage to step out there in your unique way of being happy. So welcome to those who are just joining us, and welcome to those who have been with us a while. We're glad to see you back. Now, Susan, let's talk about you. Let's just kick off the interview. Now, I know you're a speaker, I know you're an author, but what we do on the show is we're going to focus on you, the woman Susan. So let's just reel it back to the very beginning. Tell us where you're from. Tell us who you are. Tell us, were you raised by two parents or were you raised by apes in Africa? Tell us your story. Let us know who you are.
Well, I was born in Chicago, Illinois, back in 1964, and I was born and raised in the city, and I have 4 brothers. I went to the local schools there, and then I went to Magnet High School, Whitney Young, in the city, and then I went to school in Southern Illinois at Southern Illinois University, and then at 21 I transferred to Arizona State University, and that's where I finished up my college education.
Oh wow. Okay, so you kind of traveled around a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, I was in Chicago up until I was 18, and then when I was 21 I went ahead and moved to Arizona, and I was there for 20 years, and now I'm in Colorado Springs.
Wow. Now, okay, so there's a big climate difference between Chicago and Arizona. Did you find that difficult back then, or were you so young, so excited that you're like, woo, sun?
It was difficult in a lot of ways because it was very, very hot compared to Chicago, and sunshine all the time. And when I moved there, I moved in the middle of the summer. It was 115 degrees. I'm not quite sure what I was thinking,
Right?
but that's kind of how I started out in Arizona. I started out right in the middle of the heat. So, yeah, I got going, right away with the Arizona heat and learned how to handle that right off the bat. So, very different, but it was also it was a very nice place to live. So.
Now, Colorado is kind of nice. Colorado's like a nice mix of both. It still gets cold and you get your snow, not too severe, but you still get your snow, and you also get nice weather in the summer. So do you love Colorado? I've heard nothing but great things around it.
I love Colorado. We have sunshine days at least 300 a year, and it's absolutely beautiful. And out my office window, if I could show you, are the mountains. So I've got Pikes Peak right out my window, and so in the when the weather's nice, you still will see some snow on the tip top of the mountain, and then beautiful sunshine, and it's just always a gorgeous view. So yeah, I really, really enjoy it.
Oh, well, we're in Dallas, Texas, and so, the clean air of Colorado, it's hot here. Oh, yes. But the clean air of Colorado is really what I find intriguing. Now, okay, so I need to come up with the next question because I could talk about where you live all day long. But let's talk about this because you have written a book with a very, very compelling story. And, I'm going to give us time to talk about your book. But, I want people to understand, because you're out there talking about stepping through your fear and being incredibly powerful in your life. And there are so many people that are struggling with that now that I'm very excited for you to be on the show and for people to see a real person who has stepped through this amazing fear base into a place of true power in your life. So tell us what occurred for you in your life that has created this type of contribution, not everybody in the world is focused on helping people get through fear. Like, that's a big thing. So tell
Right.
us about what created that inside you.
Well, I kind of have to go back to when I was a child, and I need to explain a little bit, and then we'll jump forward. But before I was 3 years old and living in Chicago, I was sexually abused by a neighbor boy of 16 who lived down the street from me. And I, for years, buried that, really didn't understand it. I was very, very young. I knew that my life was threatened. But I really did bury it in a lot of ways, and I started to develop a lot of different fears. I became kind of OCD. I had, things that I didn't understand why I was so afraid of different things beyond the normal childhood children being afraid of the dark, for example. I was petrified. Things that made me gasp and feel like I couldn't breathe, and that I was suffocating or something like that. And so, I went through the years not really understanding, and I mean, I knew what happened. I remembered enough that I knew my life had been threatened and it was a terrible thing. And I started to talk about it to friends when I was about 6, because I was told if I told anyone, he was going to kill me. So I kept my mouth shut, but at 6 years old, 6-year-olds will say anything.
Right.
So I started to tell my friends, and they didn't believe me, and basically I shut up again for very many years. And I only told a handful of friends as I was going through the teenage years, and those times where those are kind of awkward times where you're looking for someone to talk to about personal things and that kind of stuff. But just a handful of people. My brothers, I think only one out of the 4 of my brothers actually knew what had occurred. They didn't know until the book was written. The book is called The Journey from Fear to Love is Shorter Than You Think. And it wasn't until I went to college that I was taking classes in social work and psychology, and I was taking a class in social work, and they were talking about flashbacks. And then I started to realize that the trauma that had occurred before I was even 3, I was always having flashbacks about it. And fearful type of flashbacks, and I had a reoccurring nightmare that went on for years. And so when I was 19 was about when I was also in a lot of physical pain. I couldn't walk a straight line. My back was just, I felt like a very old person. I was in a lot of pain. And I sought out the help of a chiropractor, and he worked with me and helped me out with that. But that's when I started to connect kind of what had occurred before I was 3 with what was going on with my physical body and the pain that I was having, because I had been carrying this trauma within me for all those years. Yeah. And that's when I started to make that connection. And then I really made the connection when I moved to Arizona and I was 21, and I started working with a best chiropractor. It's bioenergetic synchronization technique. And I started working with the best chiropractor. They work with the emotional, a lot of the emotional and in the subconscious part, what's going on and what's causing whatever it is that you have, whatever is expressing itself, whether it's physical pain, illnesses, whatever it is. When my daughter was about 2 years old, the same age that I was when I was abused, I then started having sinus infection after sinus infection, and I just kept getting sick. And I'd never had an infection like that. So I went to see my chiropractor again, the best practitioner, and what was revealed through our session and through the work that he did, finding the emotions that were tied, was, in which I'd never told this chiropractor anything about this, but what was revealed that it was this trauma that had occurred when I was very young that was causing my body to have these memories and making me sick. All those years later, I was now 27 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty much when I decided to, that was like the awakening moment for me. That was when I would say that's when I really decided that I want to help other people to heal. Because that day, when we did the work that we did, I have had another sinus infection. Now I'm 49. I've never had another sinus infection in my life, and I also never had the reoccurring nightmare again. The nightmare was gone. So that, I would say, that's when that truly set me down this path, and then I got certifications in different hands-on healing techniques, and I ended up writing my book, and it just became a passion that I wanted to reach out and help as many people as I possibly could who have had anything like what I've had happen, or anything, any kind of, we all have a journey, so, and we all have baggage.
Yeah.
I want to help people unload and do like what your show is about. Let's get happy and have, this happy, wonderful life that we deserve.
And we do have to unpack our luggage in order to be happy. That's one of the big things. I've always believed a lot in my body. I believe that where you carry your pain is typically where you're going to have issues. And it's interesting that your story. Now, do you follow a lot of Louise Hay's teaching?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, she's one of my role models too. She's definitely someone that I've read and I've studied, and I follow her material.
She's right on about the different, emotional things that affect the different parts of the body, and she's so accurate that her book is like a nice little Bible to have by your side, because it really does help, when you're working with other clients too, to kind of give them that information. It kind of pulls everything together. I absolutely love Louise Hay's work.
I do too. I'm a huge fan of her work, and I believe it wholeheartedly. And I've just seen it manifest itself in my life and in other people's lives. And most people think I'm kind of hokey when I talk to them about it. And but
yeah.
100%. That is a huge story that you had sinus infection after sinus infection. You healed, and then you haven't had another one. Like, I don't know anybody who has that story. Even if
and the back issues, the physical pain that I had a lot of physical pain. And I'm going to be 50 in June, and at the time that I saw the chiropractor when I was 19, yeah, thanks. When I was 19, the chiropractor told me, you have the back of a 50-year-old woman, which really makes me laugh now, because I'm going to be 50, and I can tell you, I really do feel like I'm 27. I don't feel my age. But at 19, I told him, you said 50, I say 100, because I felt absolutely awful. I was just it was like chronic pain and hard time sleeping, and like I said, I do remember when I was probably about 10, literally walking my friends off the sidewalk because I couldn't walk straight. So, as I look back, I realized that the trauma had gotten so buried so deep within me, and what it did to my physical body is just, as I look back, it's amazing what all occurred.
I just find it so interesting. I was telling somebody the other day, they asked me how I lost some weight after I was pregnant. I was like 200 pounds when I had my twins, and I lost a whole bunch of weight. It wasn't quick, but I lost a whole bunch of weight. And I don't really have a big weight problem now unless I eat too many Reese's peanut butter cups, right? And, when I say too many, I'm talking like 20, right?
Yeah, the bag.
Yeah, I love them. Anyway, we won't talk about my Reese's peanut butter cups today, but one of the things that I tell people all the time is that I truly believe that we hold pain in our bodies. And when you get cut, when your skin gets cut, what happens is it puffs up, you get a scab, and then depending on how you heal that sore, depending on whether you have a scar there and whether it stays puffed up. So a lot of times when we deal with life pain, and even if it's not a big trauma, it depends on how we assess that situation and take it in. Yeah. And a lot of times I was telling my friend, I said, I found that even though having my children was the happiest time in my life, I was dealing with a lot of painful situations at the time. There's a lot of different things going on. And so my body puffed up because emotionally I was hurting. Mm-hmm. And so my physical body did exactly what your physical body does when you get a cut. It puffed up. And it puffed up to the tune of about 200 pounds. And when I started releasing all those emotions and releasing all that baggage and that pain and allowing it to just flow through me instead of stop, I started dropping weight. I started becoming healthy. And I've done that a couple of times in my life. And it's interesting that you're saying this because most people look at me like I have a cauliflower coming out of my ear when I say that. But you are a living example of this has occurred. You were a 19-year-old person who had the back and health problems of like an 80-year-old woman. And look at you now, you know, coming up on 50, and good God, woman, you're gorgeous.
Thanks.
And you're moving around, so I know you're not having like all these problems, right?
Yeah. No, I exercise 5 to 6 days a week, and you know, I take really good care of myself. And I think that that's the other thing that a trauma like that does. If you're awake and aware and paying attention, and you're participating, really participating in your life, is that you do become more conscientious about taking care of your physical being and taking care of your emotional being and taking care of yourself and making yourself number one, because that's, you know, what we should do. Is we are the most important person in our life, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anyone else, and we can't be good, you know, at anything else we want to try to do, because you know, you've got to have that foundation of you're taking care of first. So that's what I try to do. And it is funny because a lot of women will think, oh, that's so selfish. Well, yeah, it is selfish, but it's a good selfish.
I was about to say that too, you know, because the world believes that, you know, if you think about yourself, then you're selfish. But, you know, there is a way to put yourself first. There is a way to be very healthy in your life without being selfish. You know, I call it self-care versus self-fish, because fish after 2 days stinks, no matter which way you slice it. And so when you're in that self-serving frame of reference, you know, you start getting a little sassy, a little arrogant after about 2 days. Nobody really likes being around you. If you are self-caring, then you have so much more to give other people because you're filling up your tank. You know, it sounds like jargon, but you are filling up your tank first. And
well, that's so true.
Huh?
We take better care of our cars than we do take care of ourselves. I mean, you gas tank full in your car, right? I mean, you don't.
Yeah.
So,
you know, like that. Now, okay, so here's my next question. So, okay, tell me about your book. Now, how long has your book been published? How long has it been out? And tell us the name of the book again, because I want people to hear the name, get the book.
Well, it was self-published. I published it a couple of years ago, and it's under my publishing company, which is called Pathway to Freedom Publishing. And they can get it. It's called The Journey from Fear to Love is Shorter Than You Think. So it talks a lot about your thoughts and your feelings and how that affects your life. And I'm pretty straightforward. I, you know, talk a lot about, you know, giving up the victimhood, stop playing that victim card, and start participating and being responsible for your own life and control what you can control. And I'm pretty straight. I try to make it funny. I try to most often what I hear is that readers say that they laugh out loud because they read what's in the book and go, oh my gosh, that's me, I do that. So I kind of break the ice with that, and it's a fun read. It's not a real long, hard read. It's a nice, easy, fun read, but it's packed with a whole lot of self-help type tips throughout, and hopefully what I want the reader to get out of it is I want them to be empowered, feel empowered by the time they're done reading it. That's kind of the point I drive home, is we all deserve to have this wonderful life. And I also talk a whole lot about how important it is to love ourselves first, and that's the most important thing we can do to have the life that you really want, is that you need to love yourself first, take care of you. And I really like, I'm going to read you a quote from Maya Angelou, because I really, this kind of brings it all together. She says, I do not trust people who don't love themselves and yet tell me I love you. She says, there's an African saying which is, be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt. And I think that's just right on. You've got to take care of yourself first.
That's really good. That is really, really good. I forgot about that quote. She's one of my role models too, obviously. I forgot about that quote. I haven't heard that in years.
I just think it totally ties it all together, and she's so right. If you're telling someone that you love them and you're not loving yourself first, I mean, it's kind of a lie, isn't it? I mean, you're kind of lying, because it's not possible. And then the other thing that I try to let people know is they need to be awake and aware and pay attention, participate in your own life, like we talked a little bit earlier. You've got to be a participant. You can't just sit there and wait for things to happen or for God to give you what you're asking for. It's a cooperative effort. You have to participate, and so that's kind of my message throughout. And you can get it at my website. It's journeyfromfeartolove.com. And you can go if you want. You can go check out my website, see other things that I'm going to be doing. I'll be at the Book Expo in New York City at the end of May. I'll have a booth there on May 31st. So, but like I said, my main message is we are all worthy and deserving of having an absolutely wonderful life. So love yourself and go out and get it. And my phrase that I use is embrace your power and live in love.
Nice, nice. All right, everybody, we are running low on time. So what we want to do at this point is we want to go ahead. Susan has already told us her website. But one of the things that we do, Susan, on this show is we understand that people like to access inspirational people just like you. I call you people the happiness makers of the world. And so we know that people like 3 different ways of access. There are some people that would just want to access you one-on-one. They don't want everybody to know they're talking to you. It's real private for them. And so I'm going to ask you here in a minute to give us a way to access you one-on-one. There are some people who are too freaked out to even talk to you one-on-one. They just kind of don't even necessarily want to know you to know that they exist, but they do want to come watch you. They do want to listen to you, but they may want to do it in a group. That's the second way. And the third way is some people don't want to interact with you at all. They just want to read your book, read your stuff, and stalk you out online in the most loving way possible. And so if you could give us 3 ways that the viewers of this show can access you in a way that they are comfortable so that they can get the help they need.
Well, the main way right now what I have is the website. If they go to the website, I have a blog on the website. They can interact with me through the blog. They can also email me through the website. So right now I've only got 2 ways that I can give you, but those are the ways that they can get a hold of me.
That's awesome. And then they can get your book. Your book's on your website. Now, are you going to put your book out on Kindle or one of the other?
Oh, it's on Barnes & Noble. It's on Amazon. It's on all those. I mean, they could go into Target and order it if they wanted to. But the easiest thing is if they go to the website, they can just click and purchase it from either Amazon or Barnes & Noble, whichever one they choose.
Okay, sweet. So we usually have 2 audiences for this show. We have people who are ready for happiness and they need inspiration, so they watch the show. And then we also have a lot of business marketing people that listen to the show because I always have juicy guests on the show. So I like for people to understand how they can access you and your information, both from a consumer standpoint, somebody who is really just looking for help, and then other people who think you're brilliant, like I do, and they help you market your book. So that was the question about Amazon and the other outlets.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, you met Susan today. I'm going to make you look at her face again because she's just gorgeous. And she's an awesome sauce.
Thank you. I didn't used to think I was very attractive. That was one of the things from going through the trauma, and so it's now I can accept a compliment much better than I used to. But I used to always just think, now I'm not. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It's no problem. I appreciate you being on the show, and because every single person that's on this show is showing somebody else that is completely possible. And so for you guys who have joined us today, you guys who will join us when we're up on YouTube, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to reach out to Susan. I want you to purchase her book. I want you to hang out with her. I want you to go, if you're in New York, and I want you to go to her booth at the show. Because I want you to meet this lady. These are real people who are creating real happiness in this world. And, you can't have too many of these people. So this is Kathy Brandon, your happiness chick, telling everybody to go make some happy, y'all. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.